let me jump in and start talking about gem5-20. So I'm really excited about the gem5-20 release. This really is a new era for Gem5. We are changing a lot of our processes right now, changing the way Gem5 development works and the way just the whole community works, and really transitioning from what was a small research project into a truly community-driven tool, which can be used within the architecture community and beyond. So to quickly introduce myself, I'm Jason Lowe-Power. I kind of wear two hats. I'm an assistant professor at the University of California, Davis, and also the project management committee chair of Gem5. So today I'm going to be wearing my Gem5 hat and not my computer architecture researcher hat. Okay, so quick outline for this talk. So first I'm going to give a little bit of an overview of Gem5's past and what's going on with Gem5 today, or has been going on in the past 9 years leading up to today. And then I'm going to talk about the future of Gem5. So I'm going to give what is my vision for Gem5, but this is just mine. I would like to hear what your vision for Gem5 is as well. Talk a little bit about some of the cool things that we're thinking about doing over the next few months. And then what today is all about is your input. I want to hear what your vision for Gem5 is and where you see Gem5 going in the future. What you think is exciting to work on for Gem5. Okay, so a brief history lesson. I'm sure many of you know this. But so Gem5 was the combination of two simulators. M5, which was created in Michigan by Steve Reinhardt and his students, principally the late Nate Binkert. So Nate laid an incredible foundation for M5 and Gem5. And as a testament to that foundation, I think that going back, we can look at this slide, which I stole from the M5 tutorial in 2005, so 15 years ago. And we can see that the description of M5 still really does a great job describing Gem5 today. So Gem5 is a framework for event-driven simulation, events, object statistics configuration. And it's a collection of predefined object models. I find this, Nate just had an incredible forward vision to be able to lay this foundation, and that we're still using, and fundamentally it has not changed over these past 15 years. So it was a combination of both M5 and GEMS. GEMS was created at Wisconsin by students of Mark Hill and David Wood. And the focus of GEMS was really on the memory system, specifically caches. So GEMS also had a tutorial at ISCA 15 years ago, which is a slide from here. And I think possibly some of the people on today's Zoom actually gave this tutorial 15 years ago. So GEMS, the core of it was Ruby, which was a cache model and memory. So it models details of cache coherence as well as the internet interconnection network. And you know, we still use all of these tools today, and they're still being actively developed. And so M5 and GEMS was just an amazing base to build Gem5 on top of. And so about 9 years ago, well, almost exactly 9 years ago, M5 and GEMS were combined into Gem5. These two projects were started about, both of them started around 2000, GEMS a little bit before M5. So in some sense, Gem5 development has been going on for 20 years, and it's 2020, so hence Gem5-20. Okay, so Gem5 today. So in the last 9 years, since Gem5 was released, the Gem5 paper, which was released in 2001 at the same time, has been cited over 3,600 times. Gem5 is has been used a huge amount in the community. And this isn't just like a one-off thing. The use of Gem5 has been growing significantly over time. And you know, it's cited between 500 to 600 times a year now. But what I think is even more exciting isn't the number of people using Gem5, but it's the development of Gem5. This is an incredibly thriving development community. So since the gem5 release, which I'm calling June 2nd, 2011, because that's when the binary was renamed from M5 to gem5. There have been over 7,000 commits to this repository. And in some years, like in 2018 and 2019, we had over 1,000 commits to the repo. It's like 3 or 4 commits a day. So it's a very thriving community. But even more exciting than the total number of commits is the number of unique contributors. This isn't a small number of people working on this project. No, we've had 250 unique contributors over the past 11 years. And this is growing over time, which is really exciting. And 2020, if we stay on pace, what we've done so far, so this is only 5 months, if we stay on pace, I expect to exceed these numbers this year as well. Okay, so I want to briefly talk about one specific thing in these graphs. So you can kind of notice in 2014, 2015, 2016, things kind of tapering off. And then in 2017, 2018, things took off again. So what happened here? Well, as we saw on the previous slide, the use of gem5 was significantly growing in this time period. But we were still kind of treating gem5 as a grad student research project. And around 2016, 2017, we started taking a concerted effort to make this more of a community-based project. And so we made some improvements in the community, which I think is what kind of turned this corner and started increasing increasing the community. So we did things like move from Mercurial to Git. Developers are more familiar with Git. We moved from a review board to Garrett for our code review, which made code review easier. We improved the documentation. So onboarding with gem5 became much easier as well. But what I think is more important than all of these development changes is that we really started transitioning gem5 into a community-based project. We made a new formal governance model, and specifically, we're a meritocratic governance. So anyone can be part of this community and anyone can contribute. So contributions can mean a number of different things, not only just committing code to the repository, but improving documentation as a contribution, asking questions on the users list as a contribution, and even things like attending this town hall is contributing to the gem5 community. So another thing we did was try to formalize some of the community structure. And with that, we made a project management committee, which you see pictured here. Many of them are in this call. And what I want to say here is that the project management committee does not dictate where the project is going, what the project is doing, what gets in and what doesn't get in. The project management committee is really just here from an administrative point of view. We just manage things. Most of our responsibilities are things like the website or putting together workshops like this. We don't have any more power in the community than anybody else does. So we also formalized our contribution guidelines, which made it easier to know how to contribute, what it means to contribute to gem5. And another thing that I'm really excited about more recently, we're starting to get resources from the community at large. So specifically, NSF has made a big investment in gem5, so big in fact that we were able to hire 2 full-time developers. So these 2 people pictured here, Bobby Bruce and Hua Nguyen, I'm sure you've started to see emails, especially from Bobby. Hua started a few weeks ago. These 2 are full-time software developers for the gem5 community. They're sitting at UC Davis, but they're not working for my research group. They're working for the gem5 community. We also have resources for our continuous integration that was generously donated by Google as well. Okay, so with that, I'm super excited to announce gem5 version 20. So here's a list of all the people that contributed at some point to gem5 20. This was scraped from Git, so there's a number of other contributors I'm sure I'm missing. So this is the 250 people that have contributed to gem5. And what I was really hoping to announce today was that we're going to have a gem5 20 paper. And so unfortunately, I kind of dropped the ball on this and was not able to complete it in time. There's a lot going on right now for all of us. But soon you'll be seeing an announcement about the gem5 20 paper. Many of you have already gotten emails from me about this. But I'm inviting everybody who's contributed to gem5 to be an author on this paper. So if you have any questions about that, please direct it to towards me. So thank you very much for all these people who have contributed to gem 5. And thank you all for contributing. So what are the major changes in gem 5-20? Well, we now have a release cadence. We're going to be releasing major versions of gem 5 once every 4 months. That's our current plan. This is subject to change. I'd love to hear your input on how frequently you expect things to be, how frequently you would like to see new versions of gem 5. With each of these releases, we're going to have release notes, which explains all the changes from previous releases. You can see an example of this in the current gem 5 repository. And I think I have a blog post talking about the release notes as well. We have well-defined APIs in gem 5. Well, we're working to have well-defined APIs in gem 5. These APIs are going to be stable. And all of the changes to the APIs, because APIs have to change. We want to improve the simulator, so our APIs will change. But these changes will be explained in the release notes, and it will explain how to upgrade from one version to another in a straightforward way. And if you use gem 5 for research, from now on, you should be using the master branch, not the development branch. The master branch is stable. So this is where, so if you check out gem 5 master right now, you'll get gem 5 version 20. And you can cite this in your papers. You can say, I use gem 5 version 21.2 with these changes on top of it. And so I think this is going to make it much easier, both for reviewers and future readers of your papers to know what the baselines were that you used. And we'll be backporting bug fixes from the development branch into these major releases between each major release. In fact, we've already done this. Within hours of releasing gem 5-20, we already had a bug that we needed to backport. Okay, so with that, I want to shift into talking about my future, the future vision of gem 5. So again, I'm going to talk about my personal future vision, but really what I want to hear is about your future vision as well. Okay, so I would say most computer architecture simulators are really focused on the microarchitecture and ISA interaction. But computer systems research is really about these cross-stack interactions, especially today. And I think gem 5 is the tool that is best suited for doing this kind of cross-stack research. At the same time, we're seeing this new agile hardware development methodology as well as open source hardware. And I think gem 5 can be the open source tool for this early C++ prototype and design phase. And so I think that gem 5 can be used much more than it's being used today. So my vision is that anyone, even a non-computer architect, can download and use gem 5. My vision is that it can be used for cross-stack research. That if you want to do research that changes the kernel, changes the runtime, changes the hardware all at the same time, gem 5 is your go-to tool. My vision is that we're going to be able to run full machine learning stacks, TensorFlow with GPUs, et cetera, full AR, VR stacks, or what other emerging application happens to come out in the next few years. That gem 5 will be the go-to tool for this. And what's really exciting is we're really close to this. This is what gem 5 was designed for. We just have a few rough edges that kind of makes this difficult. So this vision isn't a 10-year vision for gem 5. It's really like a 1 or 2 year vision. I think we're almost there. So I want to talk about one thing that we're going to be working on here at UC Davis over the next few months that's going to smooth out some of these rough edges. And this is known good configurations. So what do you normally want to do with a simulator? Well, you want to take some baseline, add a new feature, and see if that new feature improves performance. You might want to take a desktop baseline, a laptop baseline, or a mobile baseline, or something else, and then build on top of that. So we will provide these baselines for you as known good configurations. These baselines are going to be tested at every gem 5 release to make sure they're working. And we're also going to take community feedback to be able to add both workloads and new kinds of configurations as well. This allows researchers to concentrate on just one part of the system, rather than having to figure out what the width of the algo border CPU should be, as well as the size of the caches and the number of ports to the L1 cache. You can concentrate on the part of the system you care about. This will also improve methodology sections and papers. You can say I use Gem5 version 22.1 with the desktop known good configuration as my baseline. That's all you'll need to say, and everybody in the community will know what you're talking about. This will also give non-computer architects a starting point. You know, if you're a networking researcher or an operating system researcher, getting started with Gem5 is incredibly difficult. But this will say, well, if you use this known good configuration, you're going to get some reasonable results. So what I see is it's going to be as simple as saying, from gem5.model library, import desktop system, and you're going to get performance that is somewhat correlated to, say, an Intel Core i7. So with this, we're going to have a Gem5 status and performance board. And so we're going to be broadcasting, advertising all of the details of these configurations as well as their performance. This is going to show what works and what doesn't. It's going to show comparisons between different configurations, comparisons to hardware, and also it will be updated on every Gem5 release for all of the known good configurations. So there's already a version of this that we're working on, which is on the Gem5 website, which I'll show you real fast. So if you go to the Gem5 website and go over to documentation, there's a working status of benchmarks page now. This is a work in progress, but this currently shows for Gem5-20 a few different benchmarks that we have put in the Gem5 resources repository and what their status is. So this currently is just showing whether it works or not, but we're going to be expanding this to talk about the performance both in the simulator and of the simulator. So for instance, here we have the boot tests. So does Gem5 boot Linux? And this is for a variety of different memory systems, different numbers of CPUs, and different CPU models. And so from this, we can kind of see that there's a lot of problems with the O3 CPU. So this gives us a hint that we might need to dig into this and figure out what's going on here. And this is one of the things we'll be working on over the summer. So we also have other kinds of benchmarks as well. So this is the NAS parallel benchmarks, which we've evaluated on a smaller subset of CPUs and memory systems. We also have Parsec available, as well as Spec 2006 and Spec 2017. All of these workloads, the disk images, the kernels, the inputs, everything is available on the Gem5 website, at least those that we can distribute. We can't distribute Spec, unfortunately, but if we are distributing all of the scripts to get it going, and so as long as you have a Spec ISO, it's almost a single button press push to get these results. Okay, so a couple of the things that's going to be happening that we are currently planning on with Gem5. So I briefly talked about this before. We're going to be formalizing our APIs. This will give us stability across versions, as well as simplify integrating things with Gem5. So if you want to integrate your simulator with Gem5, by having these formal APIs, Gem5 will no longer be a moving target. We're going to enable, this will also enable model and code sharing much more easily between research groups, because again, Gem5 won't be a moving target. We're also working on testing. This is, I think, one of the biggest ways to improve Gem5 is by improving the testing. We're going to be adding more unit tests and also make testing faster, make it easier to run our tests, as well as better test coverage. But most importantly, I want to hear from you all. What are your ideas? Where do you want to see Gem5 going? What is your vision for the future? So the other thing we're going to be working on a lot is strengthening the Gem5 community. So I really want to broaden the scope of the Gem5 community to both other computer systems communities, as well as broaden Gem5 within the computer architecture community. So one of the things we're doing with this is with this these resources from NSF, part of Bobby's and Hua's job is to be a community code shepherd. So if you need help integrating your code into Gem5, if you need to learn how integrating your code works, how to upstream your code, what the Gem5 style is, how to improve your code so it can be integrated more easily, this is part of their job, and you can reach out to Bobby or Hua, and they will help you do this. There's going to be a Learning Gem5 online course, more details to come soon. Gem5 Announce is a good place to find out details like this. I want to increase the transparency in the community. So it's really important to me that this community is fully transparent. You've heard me use the word community a lot today, and that's because it's really important to me that we are a community around this tool. And with that, I also wanted to broaden the participation and make Gem5 as inclusive and diverse of a community as possible. And other ideas that we're thinking about with this is, do we want some kind of Gem5 low latency chat? Should we do a Gitter? I know some open source projects use this, or a Slack, IRC, something like Gem5 office hours. I'm getting pretty good at this remote office hour thing. Should we do like 1 or 2 hours a month where I or other Gem5 developers are available? More frequent town halls. We'll kind of see how this goes over the next hour and a half or so, but maybe we'll try to do this more frequently. I guess as a side note, it's kind of cool that this is virtual, in that I think we're going to have a lot more participation in this. So I'm kind of excited about that, to see how this virtual town hall goes. And if it goes well, I definitely foresee us doing this in the future. And again, I'd love to hear your ideas. What are your ideas in strengthening the community? How do you think we can improve the Gem5 community so that we're all better together? Okay, and with that, I'm going to conclude this talk, which was a little bit longer than I kind of planned on. But I think you can tell I'm really excited about the future of Gem5. And I feel like we're really hitting a turning point. So Gem5 version 20 is going to be a new era for Gem5. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. So with that, I'll stop there. I'll take a few questions about this if people have it, and then we can transition into the town hall. So for any questions that you have about this, please use either the Zoom chat, or I think we're streaming on YouTube as well, and I'll be monitoring the YouTube chat as well. So thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to take questions. I'm looking a way to pull up the chat right now. I'll give people a minute. Here we are. A couple of questions. So first, Andreas Sandberg asks, which architecture are you using for the status page? Is that just x86 or a mix of architectures? Right now, this is just x86, although there's no reason for it to be only that. This is just what our group has been working on. We need to kind of formalize the way we're doing this, and we're working on this with our group to make it easier for other people to contribute. And we would love it, especially if ARM contributed some similar things for the ARM ISA and the workloads that you all have working. So Dan asks, so between the major release cadence of 4 months, how often will similar smaller releases happen? We currently don't have any plans for minor releases. Right now, we've had 2 examples. In the 2 weeks since we released Gem5-20, we've had 2 examples of hot fixes where we found major bugs that we needed to get in, and that we just immediately merged in to the major, to the master branch and bumped the major release version. We don't have any plans for minor releases right now. There was a conversation about doing 1 major release a year and then 3 minor releases. And we kind of decided for now to just do major releases, but we could go to that other model as well. I'd love to hear what other people in the community think about that. Yes, and Andrea says that that explains why Classic doesn't work with x86. That's exactly right. In fact, I'm not sure if we even tested that. We just kind of know it doesn't work. It's on the to-do list. Let's see, as a feedback, Giacomo says, I think we need to keep track of simulator performance, not only between releases, but on a per commit basis to make sure the developers can properly amend fix their commits. I agree. I'm not sure if you're talking about the performance of the simulator or the simulated performance, but both of them are important to keep track of, and that's something on our to-do list. Yeah, so Adarsh asks, are there any plans to validate, correlate gem5 against real hardware, like the working status page? Absolutely. So this is what we're going to be working on over the summer. Crossing our fingers, we're going to be able to do this by gem5 20.1, which will be released in August or September. But the goal is these known good configurations will be somewhat correlated to real hardware. And we will publish the correlations on the website in a similar way. Let's see, Mateo says, it's a great vision to think about full ML stacks, TensorFlow, and possibly even more complex stacks running on gem5. However, gem5 is a sequential application, and its performance when running complex workloads and OSs is somewhat limited. For instance, it can take 2 weeks to run a limited-based application. 2 weeks to run for a Linux-based reasonable multi-threaded application running for even just a piece of a second in simulated time. Are we going to see a parallel gem5 version on the stable branch at any time soon? Anytime soon, I think I can solidly say no. Simulator performance is really important. What I would expect to see, but I guess it depends on the community. This is not something that I am personally working on or have seen other people work on. There's been fits and bouts of this trying to parallelize gem5 over the years, but nothing has really come of it. That said, simulator performance is really important, and one of the things that's on my short-term to-do list is getting better support and built-in support for statistical simulation. So we can do sampled simulation, which I think will get us somewhat there, although it's not perfect. There's downsides. Okay, a couple more questions, and then I think we'll try to move into the town hall portion. So Manu asks, any plans to support the latest Android releases in FS mode? Great question. I think that's a really good piece of feedback for what we should be looking at in terms of workloads. It takes quite a bit of effort to bring up a new version of Android, but I don't see, that would be a really good community contribution. And I hope what we can do is, by using some of the stuff we're working on, like Gem5 Art and the Gem5 resources, we can make it easier to keep track of Gem5 instead of having to redo all of the work every single time for something like bringing up Android. Daniel asks, who should I talk to about fixing some of the Spec 2006 build errors? There is let's see. The best way is probably fixing it on the Gem5 resources repo. So I don't know if it's committed right now, but there are patch sets on Gem5 resources which have all these changes that we need for spec. And so that would probably be the best way to contribute there, Daniel. Okay, 2 more, and then we'll move on. So Faustin asks, I use Gem5 to simulate the collection of cache coherence. However, the output stats.txt contains many parameters. What are the right parameters in stat.txt reflecting the overall number of data cache misses, hits, reads, and writes, and the total number of memory references? Great question. I'm going to say that probably depends. Generally, stats is something I would love to see improved sooner rather than later. I agree that it's kind of confusing. I don't have an immediate answer for you. This would be a great thing to bring up in something like a Gem5 office hours or in the Gem5 users mailing list. Okay, and Huya asks, do you have any plans to make Ruby protocols available in a single Gem5 binary? No short-term plans, although that is something I would also really like to see. Another thing that it would be really great to see, contributions from the community. Okay, Great. So thank you all very much for your attention there, and thank you for all your questions.